Africa Food Systems Forum Launch 2024. We are almost house full. I just wanted to also say that we are joined online by 1,400 participants who registered to join us virtually. We will commence briefly. I understand the guest of honor is in the building, so we expect to start very, very soon. Welcome to this launch, Murakaza Neza. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's stand up and welcome our guest of honor, the Prime Minister of Rwanda. Please have a seat, ladies and gentlemen. The Right Honorable Dr. Edward Ngirente, Prime Minister of the Republic of Rwanda, Your Excellency Haile Mariam Desalegn, former Prime Minister of Ethiopia and Chair of the Africa Food Systems Forum Partners Group, Honorable Dr. Ildefonse Musafiri, Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources Rwanda, Dr. Agnes Kalibata, President of AGRA, members of Cabinet of Rwanda, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Africa Food Systems Forum partners, development and other private sector partners, members of the media fraternity, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed, good afternoon. Mirue, buon après-midi. Welcome to the official launch of the Africa Food Systems Forum 2024. My name is Catherine Jerindongo. I am the Senior Communications Lead with the AFS Forum. This afternoon, we are privileged to have the Right Honorable Prime Minister to officiate the launch ceremony of the AFS Forum 2024 Annual Summit. This is our premier drumbeat event towards the summit that will be held here in Rwanda from the 2nd to the 6th of September. Our program, the Africa Food Systems Forum, if you didn't already know, is the largest annual convening for agriculture and food systems in the continent. Our program today will be comprised of two segments. The first part will be the official opening ceremony, which will have 4 speakers and the official guest of honor. And the second part will be a panel discussion with 2 panels, one a policy panel, and the second panel will be an investment panel. I want to welcome also our online community. This event was hugely signed up for. We have 1,400 people who registered to be here with us today virtually. So please let's give a round of applause for our online community watching us today. Yara International organized the first Africa Green Revolution Conference in Oslo in 2006. In 2007 to 2009, it was held as an annual event fostering public-private partnership and mobilizing investments in African agriculture. In 2010, Kofi Annan brought the conference to Africa. Under his influential leadership, he relocated the forum to be hosted by AGRA, signifying a commitment to engage African stakeholders. It is on the shoulders of that visionary wisdom that we are here today to share Rwanda's vision on pathways to food systems transformation. I want to welcome the Honorable Minister Ildefonse Mustafari to join me on this podium for his welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Right Honorable Prime Minister of the Republic of Rwanda, Your Excellency Haile Mariam Desalegn, former Prime Minister of Ethiopia and Chair of the Africa Food Systems Forum, Dr. Agnes Kalibata, President of AGRA and host of the Africa Food Systems Secretariat, Honorable Ministers, Ambassadors, heads of institutions, companies, farmer organizations, youth networks, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed, a very good afternoon. It's my pleasure to welcome you all at this occasion for the official launch of the Africa Food Systems Forum 2024 in Kigali, Rwanda. The Africa Food System Forum 2024 will be a good opportunity to accelerate, to discuss more the Africa food systems under the theme Innovate, Accelerate, and Scale, delivering food systems transformation in digital and climate era. Ladies and gentlemen, the Africa Food System Forum is the world's premier forum on African agriculture in general, particularly for Rwanda, where agriculture sector continues to be the bedrock of the economy and key to social transformation towards a knowledge-based high-income economy by 2050. In Rwanda, 3.4 million farmers are working in agriculture production. Furthermore, 400,000 people are employed in agriculture value chains. Yet, 32% of our children are still stunted. As we approach 2050, it is clear that the role of the agri-food system in Rwanda's socio-economic context will evolve. Together with its development partners, the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources will therefore prioritize agri-food systems transformation, leveraging the sector's potential to address the challenges of today and tomorrow. It is against this backdrop that the upcoming strategic plan for agricultural transformation, PSTF5, will focus on building resilient and sustainable food systems. PSTF5 is also the first agriculture sector strategic plan that formulated subsequent to Vision 2050, and it is designed to make a significant progress toward the country's overall target of achieving high-income status by 2050 and upper middle-income status by 2035. Ladies and gentlemen, as I end my remarks let me express once again my gratitude to you, Right Honorable Prime Minister, for honoring this event. I also thank Your Excellency, Chair of AGRA, to honor this event, this launch. I also like to thank organizers of this event who did a great job to make everything that we see here happen. I would like also to thank those who responded, all of you who responded positively to this invitation in attending this Africa Food Systems Forum 2024 launch ceremony that's taking place here in Kigali, Rwanda. I look forward to meet all of you in September during the Africa Food Systems Forum 2024 annual summit, which will take place again here in Kigali, Rwanda. Thank you for your kind attention and see you soon.
Please, let's give the minister another round of applause. Thank you for your words. Thank you for your warm welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2022, the AGRF rebranded to Africa Food Systems Forum. Dr. Agnes Kalibata was the UN Food Systems Envoy in 2021. She called for, amongst other things, collaboration and accountability to advance policies into action. This afternoon, we have Dr. Agnes Kalibata with us, and I'd like to invite you, Dr. Kalibata, to join me and share your vision on the continent on the journey to food systems transformation.
Muraho, kunabumva. Your Excellency, Right Honorable Prime Minister, Your Excellency, Miriam, Chair of my board and Chair of the Africa Food Systems Forum, Excellencies, Ambassadors, Honorable Ministers, I should have started with Honorable Ministers. Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, Ambassadors, I'm really happy to be back here today. A few things don't change. You can imagine, I'm still fidgeting with speeches. After how many years of being a minister, of leading AGRA, I still struggle. So if you know me, you do recognize that a few things don't change. But let's celebrate what has changed. What has changed is that Rwanda is our host and continues to be our host and continues to make us very proud. We are extremely proud of the relationship that the government of Rwanda has had with AGRA to take AGRF from a pretty small forum to a huge forum, continental forum. Last year, AGRF was 5,000 people. So I'm not going to say that AGRF in Rwanda should be 5,000 people, but you do understand the tall order that is in front of you. So we do have a number to beat people in the next coming AGRF. Let me say it differently, make me proud. Yeah. We come together this year at a time when it's really becoming increasingly difficult to invest in the agriculture sector, at a time when innovation is probably the most critical thing we have in our midst, and at a time when youth and the young people that the majority of this continent, and probably the biggest asset we have, is also one of the assets that is most underutilized. We plan to change that in the agriculture sector. We plan to change that in food systems. We plan to put youth at the center of food systems. So we look forward to work with you on ensuring that Africa's youth and the Africa Food Systems Forum becomes a platform that we can actually change the narrative around food systems, because we'll anchor it on youth and innovation, the two most important things that must work for our continent. Climate change is battering us left and right. If you know what's happening in Zambia now, Southern Africa, most of Southern Africa, or if you see the heat that is going on across the continent, these things are real. So we really need the collaboration that was meant to be in the Africa Food Systems Forum. This forum was a platform that was designed to bring public sector and private sector together, to give us a chance to collaborate, to give us a chance to discuss what is not working, to give us a chance to talk about the future we want to see. The future we want to see has never been more important than, that conversation of the future we want to see has never been more important than it is today, because it is going to be the ability for us to feed ourselves. So again, I'm very happy that this conversation is coming back to Kigali. And to do that, I've actually brought a huge team to Kigali here, the AGRA team that is behind the AGRF team as well, but also that is working on the technical side to ensure that we do have the right conversations on how we can work with the AGRA team here in Kigali and work with you all to ensure that we are working together to overcome some of these challenges. If you are from AGRA and you actually work for me, please stand up. Please stand up. No, yeah. Very good. So if you, these are the people you hold accountable, not me. These are the people you hold accountable. And I work for His Excellency, the Prime Minister. Everybody works for someone. So I work for His Excellency, the Prime Minister, the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Ceremonial, is the chairman of my board. So we are here this year, and we are excited to be here this year, to really have conversations, especially because the Ministry of Agriculture now has a food system strategy. It's the first one on the continent, a food system strategy, not an agriculture strategy. There's a difference. And we are extremely proud, and I always say, Rwanda is the first, and Minister have made us proud because you're the first to be putting forward a food system strategy. What it means is we have a number of sectors that come together to think about how to move forward the food system, not just Ministry of Agriculture. Ministry of Agriculture will be working with Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Health, and many other ministries, because this is a challenge that really brings us all together. And again, this is a challenge that must be anchored on the future. And Ministry of ICT and Innovation will be part of these conversations as well. So, Honorable Prime Minister, that's why we have you here today, because we want the whole of government behind what Ministry of Agriculture is doing. And thank you for being with us. So thank you again. Thank you again for hosting Africa Food Systems Forum, for being a good partner to AGRA, and we look forward to the 5,000 plus people that we'll see this year. Thank you.
The challenge has been made, Pathe, 5,000 in Kigali. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Dr. Kalibata. Please let's give her another round of applause. I now invite you to watch our official opening video.
In a world where it is urgent to ensure food and nutrition security, job creation for youth and women, the Africa Food Systems Forum, in collaboration with the government of Rwanda, proudly presents the AFS Forum 2024 Annual Summit. From the land of 1,000 hills in the vibrant city of Kigali, from September 2nd to the 6th, 2024. The mission? Not just to produce food, but to radically transform African food systems, ensuring food is available, accessible, and affordable for everyone across the continent. Under the theme, Innovate, Accelerate, and Scale, delivering food systems transformation in a digital and climate era. The AFS Forum 2024 will be a global, inclusive gathering grounded in Africa's food systems priorities. Join us at the forefront of change. Together, let's innovate, accelerate, and scale towards a sustainable food future.
So we hit the call. We already put it there that it's going to be 5,000. So we've heeded the call. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 26 partners, or 28 partners who form the Africa Food Systems Forum. And today, to speak on behalf of our partners, I welcome the USAID Mission Director, Rwanda, Mr. Jonathan Kamin. Welcome.
The Right Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Edward Njirente, Chair of the Africa Food Systems Forum Partners Group, Honorable Haile-Mariam Desalegn, Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources, Dr. Ildefonse Musafiri, President of AGRA, Dr. Agnes Kalibata, gathered ministers, officials, AFSF partners, private sector partners, businesses and associations, media representatives, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Good afternoon. Wirineza. It's a real honor for me to be able to stand up here on behalf and represent the PFS Forum Development Partners and to be part of the important event today as we gear up towards the AFSF Summit in 2024. Let me begin by thanking the government of Rwanda and the AFSF Partners Group for hosting this important event. I want to thank the chairperson, His Excellency Haile-Mariam Desalegn, for his stewardship over the AFSF Partners Group. We're also grateful to the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources, Minagri, for its ongoing leadership and support to the AFS Secretariat in the implementation of the AFSF strategy of the home and away model. As we've heard today, the AFS Forum 2024 is going to be convened under the theme Holistic Transformation, Innovation, Digital Entrepreneurship, Acceleration of Financing for Youth and Women, and will provide an opportunity for all of us to reflect on the coordinated large-scale action by stakeholders towards translating commitments made into actionable strategies and progress on the ground. As we continue to recover from the impacts and the scourge of COVID-19 and its shakeup on the functions of the worldwide food system, and reigniting efforts to meet Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 2, Zero Hunger, I stand here on behalf of all of the AFS Forum Development Partners to reiterate the strong support you will get from all of us in the efforts to achieve these results and improve agricultural outcomes. As a key development partner, USAID, the United States, is proud to advance global food security, supporting a dynamic agricultural sector that can grow Rwanda's economy and feed its people. Development partners here are engaged on all fronts in partnership with the government and with many of you here to bring the best techniques possible to Rwanda to bring across that agricultural transformation we talk about through digital solutions and other innovations and through efforts to combat the negative effects of climate change, which impact many countries, Rwanda included, which are reacting to and dealing with climate change changes imposed upon them. For USAID's part, through the Feed the Future initiative, the U.S. government seeks to address global hunger and food security with the primary goal of reducing poverty and undernutrition by simultaneously promoting inclusive agricultural sector growth and improved nutritional status for women and children. We help to boost agricultural productivity, expand livelihoods, increase incomes, and improve nutrition. Here in Rwanda, we know that agriculture contributes 26% of the national GDP and employs 66% of the labor force. While the country has made significant progress towards the CAADP goals in the last decade, challenges remain with respect to food security, nutrition, access to finance, access to markets, accessibility of seeds by smallholder farmers, and last but certainly not least, the underemployment of youth in the agriculture sector. The development partners will continue to partner with the government to achieve its CAADP goals. Through USAID, the United States will continue to work closely with host country governments, civil society, private sector, and communities to build on this progress and address the challenges in health, economic growth, education, and democracy and governance with an overall goal of sustainability and food systems transformation. Development partners stand ready to deepen the partnership to achieve the ambitious yet eminently achievable goals that the government here in Rwanda has set out for its people. For its part, USAID Rwanda will continue to deepen its partnership with AGRA in its strategic vision and in AGRA's efforts to be a thought leader and convener of various multi-stakeholder platforms such as the AFS 2024 Forum and the Partnership for Inclusive Agricultural Transformation in Africa, PIATA. 2024 offers a crucial opportunity to rethink and renew efforts to transform Africa's food systems. We can all make a difference in driving this continent towards zero hunger. On behalf of the United States and all development partners, I'd like to express our thanks and appreciation to the 28 partner institutions that form the AFSF Partners Group and support the shared vision of the platform. The forum would not be possible without the dedication and valuable contribution of all of us. I think everyone in the room has contributed to launch this event here today. And I think I speak for all of us when I say how excited we are to see the 2024 forum take place here in Kigali in September. And if I can simply pick up on some of the themes that Dr. Kalibata raised just now, never in the history of development partner commitments to helping countries like Rwanda achieve its goals has the need for innovation and creativity been more in demand. Budgets are decreasing, but all of us stand ready to bring new innovations to amplify the food system strategy approach and all of the innovations it implies to ensure that Rwanda and all countries can achieve support sustainability for their people. Indeed, it's through that participation, engagement, and thought leadership that all of us that make this the premier forum for our shared cause. I know I speak for all of us when I say, there is nothing that we all cannot accomplish when we work together. So again, I congratulate AFSF on this momentous kickoff and look forward with great anticipation to what comes in the fall. Murakoze cyane.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the commitment from our development partners. Please let's give Mr. Jonathan Kamin another round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, dance has been a big part of the Rwandan culture. As a guest of Rwanda, it's one of the things I love most about this country. The elegance represent just who Rwandans are. On stage, joining us for this next session is the Inyoberana, I'm sorry for massacring the name, dance troupe. Please welcome.
Nimwumve ibyiza by'u Rwanda mama, reka nsingize u Rwanda mama.
round of applause as our dancers go out. Thank you very much. Always lovely to see. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now into the official launch ceremony to announce the theme and the outcomes of the Africa Food Systems Forum 2024 and to invite the Right Honorable Prime Minister to stage. I welcome Your Excellency Hailemariam Desalegn, the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia and the chair for the AFS Forum Partners Group. Your Excellency, I welcome you to the right podium.
Your Excellency, Right Honorable Dr. Edward Girente, Prime Minister of the Republic of Rwanda, Honorable Minister of Agriculture and Animal Resources, and Honorable Minister of Trade and Industry, the Africa Food Systems Forum Partners Group members, ambassadors and development partners, distinguished business leaders, entrepreneurs, farmers, and members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. It is a wonderful feeling to be back in the beautiful city of Kigali, which I consider home, and to see so many friends, great leaders, and advocates of the food systems transformation in this room. I would like to thank the Republic of Rwanda for hosting us today, the African Food Systems Forum Partnership Group, and all stakeholders who will join us in advancing food systems transformation in Rwanda and across our continent. This launch is a key moment and undoubtedly an important and exciting date on this year's food transformation agenda, the African Food Systems Forum 2024 Summit, to be held in Kigali from September 2nd and the 6th of 2024. It is a pleasure and an honor to come together with all of you as part of a broader community united behind a common objective to build productive, nutritious, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable food systems that have the power to accelerate the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals we call SDG by 2030. Many here today are aware of the numerous challenges that African producers, medium and small enterprises, including that of micro, all along food value chains, particularly youth and women, face in the new climate era. Rising temperatures, droughts, floods, limited access to training, equipment, and especially financing for investment, lack of more robust policy for frameworks and adequate infrastructure, and the list goes on. As the multiple success stories in Rwanda illustrate, progress and transformation are being made here in this country and across many countries in the region. Even so, transformative actions must advance at the necessary speed or scale we want. We are not yet to that. With the deadlines of the Malabo commitments and the UN food SDGs rapidly approaching the horizon, we must urgently innovate with the vibrant young people and women to accelerate and scale up our efforts and deliver the challenge we want. This is why the African Food Systems Forum has chosen the theme, Innovate, Accelerate, and Scale, Developing Food Systems Transformation in a Digital and Climate Era, for its 2024 Annual Summit. It is a call for stakeholders, world leaders, investors, academics, farmers, and the private sector and other organizations to come together and seize the multiple opportunities before us to do more to deliver food systems transformation at a faster scale and phase and a much larger scale. This year's theme highlights the need to prioritize three key actions. First, innovating, accelerating, and scaling up. Regarding innovation, the 2024 summit will spotlight innovative policy delivery mechanisms, financing initiatives, research, and business models. As we evolve in a digital age, the summit will showcase cutting-edge technologies and equipment to manage climate impact, digital and financing gaps, and food waste and loss, to name a few. Participants and delegates will have the opportunity at the summit to network with the innovators and thought leaders driving these state-of-the-art technologies and developments. Ladies and gentlemen, to accelerate progress in food systems transformation and harnessing power and potential, the latest technological innovations and policy and financing is fundamental, especially in a digital era. Technology and innovation are essential for attracting youth and securing the future of our food systems. To speed up the delivery of sustainable and prosperous food systems and secure and ensure food and nutritional security, we must urgently involve all actors and put women and youth at the helm. With so many upcoming young African talents, as we have seen this morning in Kigali Innovation Center, spectacular innovations and tried and tested practices and solutions in the region and abroad, they can be adapted and replicated at scale. However, to do so, actions and investments must be mobilized at scale, particularly private sector investments. One example is the US-Africa Food Security Partnership Group working towards that end. The 2024 forum is designed to do just that. It will bring together business leaders, potential investors, high-ranking government officials, thought leaders, and farmers under the same roof to make the connections needed to unlock investment and financing opportunities for medium and small enterprises that include youth and women, and government-led deals, and unleash the potential for faster, widespread food systems transformation across our continent. Last year's ASF Forum was very successful. It had record attendance, as our President Agnes said, breathed new life into its platforms, and showcased many talents, particularly youth and women. I firmly believe that as the AFS Forum team grows in size and professionalism, and our partnership in a number and strengths, especially our long-standing partnership with our host country, the government of Rwanda, the 2024 summit will be an even greater success. Not only 5,000, but 5,000 plus. There is, therefore, no doubt that when we come together from 2nd to 6th September of this year, it will be clear which paths we need to take to accelerate the journey towards sustainable, resilient, productive, inclusive, and prosperous food systems at a continental scale, as the CADIP-2, the Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program of the AU2, is in the making, and the Malabo 2 is coming, so we can contribute to this process as well, with youth and women at the center in this digital and increasingly climate-affected era. As I conclude, Your Excellency Prime Minister, I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of the AFCF Forum Partners Group to thank your government and again for its strong leadership, hosting our secretariat and continuously growing the world's largest forum on agriculture and food systems on our continent. I'm pretty sure that this secretariat will station for a longer period of time in Kigali to achieve its goals. from the remarkable land of this Rwanda. We will continue to inspire and accelerate the transformation of food systems in Africa. With this, now I invite our guest of honor, Your Excellency Prime Minister, to grace us with your speech and have an opening and launching process. I thank you and God bless you all.
Your Excellency Haile Mariam, former Prime Minister of the Federal Republic of Ethiopia and Chair of the AGRA Board and Africa Food System Forum Partners Group. Honorable Ministers here present, Dr. Agnes Karibata, President of AGRA, members of the Diplomatic Corps here present, Africa Food Systems partners, distinguished guests, good afternoon. It is always a pleasure for me to be part of this conversation on Africa's agricultural transformation. I am indeed happy to join you today as we launch the Africa Food Systems Forum Summit 2024. First of all, I would like to thank Your Excellency Haile Mariam, the Chair of Africa Food Systems Forum, for inviting me to this important event. We appreciate your dedication to addressing food security, malnutrition, and agricultural development across Africa. I would like also to thank Dr. Agnes Karibata for her efforts in shaping sustainable food systems across the African continent. I also commend the Africa Food Systems Secretariat and its partners for working with the government of Rwanda in organizing this upcoming summit. We all know that this forum was previously called Africa Green Revolution Forum. And we find that this change in naming reflects better a strategic shift towards a more comprehensive approach to food system transformation involving stakeholders across the entire food value chain. Rwanda is pleased to be the host or the home country for the Africa Food System Forum, and they remain committed to playing its role in advancing the agenda for the transformation of African agriculture. Distinguished guests, the September 2024 Africa Food Systems Summit will take place at a critical time. As you are aware, we have less than 60 years remaining to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Moreover, the 2014 Malabo Declaration committed African governments to triple intra-African trade in agricultural commodities and services by 2025. And at that time, the share of intra-African agricultural trade was consistently below 20%. However, the fact that intra-African exports of food items constitute only 24% of the total African exports in 2022 clearly indicates that we are not on track to achieve these goals or targets. In addition, statistics indicate that Africa currently faces a net import bill of $60 billion for staple foods. Looking ahead, these figures might increase by 50 to 60% or even double in the next decade. However, we all agree that the continent has a potential to decrease those import expenses, meet the food needs of its own population, and significantly contribute to global food network. Some predictions have been showing that if we don't take action to improve African food systems, the annual cost of inaction could reach $200 billion. Surprisingly, this is more than 10 times the cost of acting promptly to adapt and address these challenges. Distinguished guests, ahead of the September 2024 Africa Food System Summit, I would like to share some insights that can shape our conversations for transforming Africa's food systems. To begin with, to transform our food systems, we as governments and the policymakers should persistently implement bold and ambitious policies and strategies. The effective implementation of these policies and strategies will play a key role in creating conducive environment to private sector investment. This requires the implementation of the innovative and adaptive financing models and the products to address funding inadequacy and ensure long-term viability for our food systems. Moreover, to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, it is crucial that we increase local food production to meet our needs and also facilitate trade among African nations. The African Continental Free Trade Agreement presents a valuable opportunity for achieving those objectives. Equally important, we needed to encourage more youth to engage in the agricultural sector. And this can be done by adopting inclusive approaches to de-risk the sector and introduce more innovations in different subsectors or components of the agricultural sector, as well as promoting digital technologies. Lastly, our challenge in food systems can be addressed through strategic partnerships at the country, regional, and global levels. Distinguished guests, in Rwanda, agriculture remains key in our economy. Over the years, this sector has made significant contributions to our country's GDP, created income for our people, helped reduce poverty, and generated employment opportunities. To transform the agricultural sector into a powerful engine for economic development, our country is embracing innovation and making evidence-based policy decisions. In this context, the government of Rwanda has focused on de-risking the sector to ensure that it becomes more profitable and attractive for the youth and the private sector actors. This approach has played an important role in addressing the issue of aging population in the sector, both the sector financing and improve weaker markets and value chain linkages. Distinguished guests, as I conclude, I call upon all partners, including Africa Food Systems Forum, to continue supporting this unique forum. We acknowledge the efforts of Africa Food Systems Forum in the continent's ambition to feed its people while creating job opportunities within food systems value chains. I would like also to reiterate that Rwanda looks forward to hosting the Africa Food Systems Forum 2024 annual summit. With collective effort, let us embark on this journey to build inclusive, sustainable, and resilient food systems and make our continent food sufficient. I take this opportunity to welcome to Rwanda all the delegates who will join us for the Africa Food Systems Forum 2024 annual summit in September this year. I thank you so much.
Right Honorable Prime Minister, I welcome you. I welcome you, Your Excellency, to join the PM. Welcoming Dr. Kalibata, Cabinet Ministers from Rwanda, Managing Director Amat Patesene to join for the photo, please. Thank you. We'll take a second photo with partners. I invite the Cabinet Ministers to have a seat and Managing Director. We'll take a photo with the Africa Food Systems Forum partners. Dr. Kalibata, you're one of them. The principals from the Africa Food Systems Forum partners, please join on stage for a photo, including members of the diplomatic corps, the ambassadors in the room. For partners, we want the representatives from the Africa Food Systems Forum partners, principals. Please, let's make 2 rows. Some people could go to the back. Some could step on the stair. It's looking good. It's looking good. A round of applause for the Prime Minister. The Africa Food Systems Forum is now officially launched. We missed the fireworks, the fanfare. Thank you, Prime Minister. Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, we are getting to the second part of the program, even as the fireworks go on. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We are now getting to the second part of the program, which is a panel discussion. This session should take us about 40 minutes, and then it will be followed by a networking event and cocktail. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme has been announced: Innovate, Accelerate, Scale Delivery in Food Systems Transformation in a Digital and Climate Era. To share more on this theme and the role of the AFS Forum in advancing food systems transformation, I invite our MD, Amat Pathesene, on the stage.
Your Excellencies, honorable ministers, ambassadors, distinguished business leaders, entrepreneurs, farmers, and partners. It is great to see you here, all in Kigali. You are our partners and also friends of Rwanda in this beautiful city and country of Kigali for the launch of the 2024 Food System Forum. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to the government of Rwanda, His Honorable Minister Musafiri and his colleague for the leadership and for giving us this warm welcome. Rwanda is home for the AFS Forum, and we are hosted here since 2020, and it is an honor to continue this growth journey here in this beautiful country, which has shown change that is possible. We also witnessed the remarkable transformation of the country over the past years in all sectors, and it is making also great stride in the efforts to become an upper-income country by 2050. We salute the government of Rwanda for always innovating and raising the bar higher and higher and source of inspiration for many African countries. Our forum, previously known as Africa Food System, Africa Green Revolution Forum, is a world premier forum, and it brings all stakeholders to work in all segments of the food system. Our aim is to build and support healthier, more inclusive, sustainable, resilient food system that can power and accelerate the achievement of the sustainable goal before 2030. Since its creation, it has been an annual gathering, but we have been innovating over the past years, and it has expanded the scope to a greater emphasis on youth and women, healthy diet, trade, market, as well as also renewable energy. So in a natural way, we are shifting since 2022 from the Agricultural Revolution Forum to Africa Food System Forum. So this is the change we want, which is a more holistic. And from last year, we have seen from 200 people when it was created to 6,000, almost 6,000 in Tanzania, with over 29 partners right now. Our ambition is to continue to grow as African countries and farmers aspire to produce enough food locally, but also to feed our people and also creating jobs for young people. Today, the AFS Forum has succeeded positioning itself as a must-attend forum event by creating valuable opportunities for people to learn from African leaders on what's the journey, what's the direction when it comes to food system transformation. Second, also to discover emerging trends in today's agri-food system investment, landscape, and size opportunity to do business. Third is also to access knowledge products and digital technologies and equipment and grow our network and contacts and continue also to build this long-term strategic partnership. Our raison d'etre as a forum is our people, especially youth and women. And as you can see today, our common goal is to organize a world-class summit, which will be for higher quality in terms of content, in terms of leadership, but also participation here in Kigali. And we would like also to leave legacy programs. So not only event, but when we leave here, we have also legacy which the country can continue to implement. With this kind of energy and also the political leadership, we are confident that this year forum will be a turnout. We need to accelerate the delivery of inclusive, resilient, and prosperous food system on the continent. I thank you all for being part of this incredible journey, and let us work together to create a better and sustainable and prosperous Africa. Thank you so much.
Another round of applause, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome our first panel, which is a policy panel, to the stage. Mr. Ozonia Ogiello, UN Resident Coordinator, Rwanda. Honorable Eric Rigaba, Minister of State, Minagri. Honorable Sabah Nsanzimana, Minister of Health, Rwanda, and the moderator for this session, Dr. Olive Tuyeshime. This panel will be discussing connecting the policy dots to accelerate the delivery of inclusive, healthier, resilient, and sustainable food systems. Welcome.
Thank you, MC. I think we have been talking about Africa food systems, and we say that this is not one sector which is involved. On this panel, we'll be discussing about policies, and we have our panelists. We are going to discuss about connecting the dots, the policy dots, to accelerate the delivery of inclusive, healthier, resilient, and sustainable food systems. We are going to have our discussion, having some questions that will be addressed to our honorable ministers and the UN Residence Coordinator in Rwanda. I would like to address my first question to the UN Resident Coordinator in Rwanda. And here is the question. The UN system has played a key role in setting the food system agenda in 2021. And only 6 years before the end of SDGs, could you tell us more on the progress in implementing the outcome of this process and its contribution to the achieving of the 2030 agenda, particularly in Rwanda, and the UN system contribution in Rwanda? Over to you.
Thank you. Excellencies, ambassadors, partners, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Previous speakers have highlighted the contextual issues that we face as a global community, whether it's about climate change, failure of crops in many countries, social upheavals, and the concern we began to feel as a global community about the risk of social discontent and poverty and hunger in many parts of our countries. And so the Secretary General in 2021 then convened this Food System Summit. 100,000 people across 148 countries participating in this conversation, the recognition that we need to do things differently as a global community. We need to mobilize our capacities and assets and look at the interconnectedness of these issues as a way of finding a resolution to addressing them. So the start is the political recognition of a problem, the mobilization of the political leadership, and then translating that leadership into concrete actions at the national level. Remember that last year, the high-level political summit, there was a summit on the SDGs as well, where the evidence on the progress on the SDGs got all our heads of state worried. But in the summit declaration, they also made a number of commitments. And one of the commitments they made in the summit declaration was a focus on accelerators that were so close to 2030 that at current trajectory, most of our countries will not be able to realize all the 17 development goals. We might meet some targets, but most will not. And for those who are interested in the trends in Africa, the Economic Commission for Africa publishes an annual progress report on the SDGs, and you will see that quite a number of them are stagnating. Some actually have suffered regression, and some there's some progress. So what was needed was the leadership by our political leaders to make a commitment that things will change. And on the basis of that commitment, first, at the Food Systems Summit that adopted a recognition of this interconnectedness, and then a charge to all the member states. Please take this forward at your national level, hold your national level consultations, which we did hold one here in Rwanda, and develop a food systems strategy. Rwanda, as Madam Kalibeta has mentioned, the very first country in Africa to do the same. And now we are trying to operationalize that strategy by taking it into the PSTA5 in terms of the concrete actions that we need to do as a society. So the key issues, the other thing I want to mention is that because of the political recognition that these global convening generated, a number of countries are also taking specific measures to address some of the impact of these issues. Rwanda now adopts universal school feeding as a response. Many countries are doing the same as well. And in our own role as development partners in Rwanda, in the context of the conversations we're having with government, particularly in relation to NSD2, what you then see is a whole of government and a whole of society approach to NSD2. And what we bring to the table as development partners in Rwanda is not a sector-driven approach, but an integrated approach that tries to respond to all of the interconnectedness of these particular issues. If you look at for us as a United Nations system, we are also developing our next 5-year plan. And our role also is evolving, similar as countries are coming together to address these issues. The role of the United Nations system is becoming increasingly more as a facilitator, enabler, a broker, and a convener. It's not about project implementation, and it's also not about financing or funding to the United Nations system. It's about financing to the National Development Plan. And so our role in terms of who are our partners, who we work with, a common script as private sector, as development partners to support the National Transformation Agenda is what then activates what we bring to the table. And perhaps the final point I would like to mention is that for us as a UN, Rwanda was recently selected as one of the pilot countries for funding. The SDG Fund in New York, which is a fund set up by the UN, and many of the partners here are contributing to that fund as well. A catalytic fund that tries to use its resources as proofs of concept in these new imaginative areas where things are untested, we are all exploratory, but we are eager to try. Even if we fall down, we'll get up and try again. Rwanda is one of those pilot countries now in this new window, working together with a cross-section of government to identify what is that sweet spot if in terms of a food system strategy. What is the sweet spot that unites all the key areas of government that creates a cascade effect? And so it can impact on different elements of the development agenda of government. And if you look at the political declaration of last year, when our heads of state adopted what they call the 6 transitions as accelerators for trying to meet the SDGs, it's food, there's jobs and social protection, there's education, there's food systems, there's energy, there's climate biodiversity. The guidelines for NSC2 integrates these transitions also as the part of the vehicles that we can't just do things alone. There's a role, a bigger role for private sector, a role for all of us to come together and work off the same script. So that's where we are, and remember, this is just only 3 years old. But the speed of the process in Rwanda has been truly outstanding. Many other countries, unfortunately, are still well behind in terms of their own strategic thinking on how to integrate this into their national development planning process and implementation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your highlights and your continuous contribution toward this agenda of the Africa food systems. And now I would like to address my question to the Minister of State in the Ministry of Agriculture, Honorable Elike Rwigamba. Your ministry is lead on food system transformation. Under the PST5, what are the key institutional and regulatory reforms to enhance work between all sectors and unlock private sector investment on food system. Over to you.
Excellencies, colleagues, and participants, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I think the previous speakers, our guest of honor, and most of other speakers that have been with us, they've, I think, set the stage clear that the agriculture as a sector is critical, is important in terms of jobs, in terms of feeding our people. It is important in terms of ensuring that actually we have a planet that is very conducive. They have also reminded us that there are still a number of challenges, challenges that are with us. We can't pretend that we are not feeling them. I think for me that keeps me awake is the fact that Africa and Rwanda, we are still importing food. It makes me feel very uncomfortable in my role. But also it gives me a sense of urgency on what I should be focusing on. Now the discussions around food systems, they are important because they help us to move away from food production to the entire ecosystem. We are talking about land, we are talking about the health of that soil of that land, talking about energy, we're talking about transport, we are talking about nutrition, we're talking about transporters, we're talking about processors, we're talking about everyone in that ecosystem. And so in our case in Rwanda, I think what we have agreed to do is to embrace the discussion, to embrace the call. Instead of focusing on food production, let's focus on food systems. The second thing was to say, then everyone, including the government and the policymakers, the civil society, the development partners, but even within the private sector, to bring them on the table. Under the 5th strategic plan for agricultural transformation, we have made it deliberate to work with all the development partners, to work with all ministries, to work with the NGOs, to work with the private sector through a very wide intentional consultative process where we want to develop a food system, a strategy that embraces, that focuses on food systems. And what that means is that moving forward, if you are a Minister of Agriculture, then you are able to highlight the key areas of focus. Definitely increase the food production, improve the productivity, improve the use of fertilizers, infrastructure, and others. But I think for me what is very critical is the discussion around if we have agreed on the priorities that are going to transform food systems in Rwanda. Our call is to say, if you are Minister of Infrastructure, your roads, your power rollout programs, your other infrastructure projects, and the priorities should be allocated towards food basket areas. If you're a Minister of ICT and Innovation, we are having a discussion to ask a minister with your team, what role is technology going to play in creating innovative solutions to address the challenges in the food systems, ecosystem for all actors? If you are a Minister of Health, we are saying, Minister of Health, can you help us to educate everyone, such that we use food as medicine. Can we improve our lives, our health lives, using food? Can we train our people to use the right food diets to be able to keep our population healthy? We are talking to Minister of Youth and Women. Can we use these programs in agriculture, the budgets you have, to engage more women and more youth in agricultural systems and along the ecosystem? Our development partners and friends have been very generous, that from the development of the strategy to mapping out priorities, to actually even agreeing on the costing of those priorities, they are generous. They are saying, let's focus on food systems. We have been working with the private sector to ask them, can we refocus our attention to making viable business projects within the agriculture sector to make it more conducive, profitable, but also attractive to investors from all, either from the private sector or even from the public. And for us, the first important aspect in Rwanda is to get everyone on the table to focus on developing efficient food systems that are catering for everyone. If you talk about energy, we are having a discussion with the Minister of Infrastructure, for us covers energy, to say how can we improve, how can we deploy renewable energy in empowering irrigation schemes, in empowering our storage facilities and cold rooms. So this is the kind of discussion that we are having. And so at the center of whatever you're trying to do, the main focus now is coordination to bring everyone on the table. The second aspect, I think it would come out easily if we wanted to, maybe if I may use a very typical example, to kind of try to illustrate what we are trying to do. For those of you who have been here long, you know Rwanda is kind of a small country, and our landscape dictates that our farms are small. But at the same time, we need to keep on increasing food production. And so, if I take it from the theme of this year's Africa Food System Forum, from innovate, accelerate, and scale, we've been asking ourselves with our smallholder farmers in Rwanda, and of course in many African countries, how do we innovate? How do we accelerate? How do we scale up? How do we increase productivity? How do we build capacities of our people? How do we attract investment in these small farms? So for us, the journey has been to agree that let's consolidate. So we have been working with all our stakeholders to map out, for example, all consolidated sites, which is above 5 hectares. We want to know them by name. We have a list of them. We know the size. We know the location. And we are using GPS to know the coordinates. The Minister of ICT has been generous to allow us to give us a system that can get all those sites into a platform. Then we can count them. Then the government has made a decision to work with the development partners to deploy all resources that we have, from public and private, to de-risk these sectors. If you allow me, I pick some few examples. We've been working with the IFAD, we've been working with the AGRA, we've been working with the World Bank, FAO, and others, the USAID different programs, to de-risk these sectors, to de-risk these sites, with irrigation. We have allocated 154 million USD to create irrigation schemes to be able to deal with climate change. We've been able to come up with I think let me give a specific example to make sure that people get what I'm trying to say. We are saying for these sites, can we irrigate them? Can we create access roads? Take their power, create a bit of business models. And when we tried that approach to one of our projects in the eastern part of Rwanda, the Gabiro Agri-Business Hub, we have been able to attract a lot of attention from private investors from Rwanda and from outside Rwanda. And when we look at the government with the development partners, the investment they have made to create that conducive environment, and the response we have gotten from private sector players, let me surprise you. Even banks that had described agriculture as risky, they are lining up to support these private sector investors. These private investors have lined up, have committed, they have signed investment agreements to the tune of 50 million USD for the next few years. They have imported heavily equipment in terms of technology, tractors, harvesters, to ensure that this land is cultivated using mechanization. We have been able to estimate that from the current average production of around 2 metric tons from, let's say, maize, they are projecting 10 and above. They have put in place a program of using so many young people to run this equipment, to repair them, and be able to cultivate faster. And all these, we think they are going to increase food production and the food nutrition. We have been able to agree on certain food value chains that we think are going to be helpful for the country to address the kind of nutrition we need. The Ministry of Infrastructure has established the infrastructure. It's important how you get the Ministry of Infrastructure to focus attention to provide the required infrastructure in areas where agriculture is taking place. And so when you listen to the plans these investors have, they want to feed the country, they want to export horticulture, and all these are new discussions that before this kind of environment was created in this part of the country, you could not get banks there. These foreign investors who are not able to invest there, even they didn't know. We never expected that in Rwanda you can produce at that level of productivity. And so to say that this kind of discussion around food systems is probably the easiest way of attracting everyone on the table and address the problems of hunger, the problem of climate change, and the problems of food insecurity. Let me pause here for now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister of State in the Minagri. I think you have highlighted how you are collaborating with different ministries. For instance, we are talking about the Ministry of Infrastructure, Trade. So I think if we have the food on the farm, so we need also to take it to the market. So I think it's always good to know that we need to collaborate. You talked about the ICT. For instance, when you talk about smart agriculture, so we need the ICT to be involved. We need high tech in agriculture. And then we have also the health. So I think in the room they mentioned we have also some problem with stunting. Maybe we are going to see if we have the food, but how is it being utilized, and is the population healthier? Are we getting access to the food? How is it distributed? With this, we are going to have the Minister of Health of Rwanda, Honorable Minister Dr. Sabe Nsanzimana. And here I have one reflection question, which states like this: the nutrition and health are key component of food systems. How food system can be transformed in an integrated way so that they are more sustainable and provide the food that promote healthier diet in Rwanda. Thank you. Over to you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon. It's my first time in agriculture conference to be invited. So it's a special day, and I think there is a good reason that we become what we eat. Basically, food is no longer just to satisfy the stomach. It's also to make sure we are healthy, because if we don't do that, then we end up at the hospital. So this is very important. When I saw the invitation from my colleague Ildefonse, I said, what am I going to say? Among experts in agriculture, in food systems. And I come up with 3 points. One, I talk about food, agriculture, and disease. 2, I want to talk about stunting, as you rightly said. And 3, I talk about One Health. On disease, I think you made my work easy. Today, food is seen as medicine. And we see this even with the trend, the shift of disease burden on the continent, which was not the case before. Like 5 years before, we were seeing more of infectious disease on this continent. But today we see more of disease, of lifestyle, of what we eat, how we move, what we drink, how we sit, and so on and so forth. So, and that connects closely to agricultural sector, to food, and I see more and more us coming together because we need to handle this issue. Looking at some statistics on the continent, heart disease, vascular disease, cancer, and diabetes and metabolic diseases are now the leading cause of mortality in Africa, in most countries. And this is not a phenomenon we observed before. It's a new shift. And the risk factors are mostly coming from what people eat. Salt, sugar, lots of proteins, unnecessary proteins, and also other ingredients that are consumed in excess and others that are not taken, yet the body needs it. All this is around food systems. On the other side, which is my point 2, we have also the scarcity of food. Our kids, our children are not having enough food, enough proteins, and enough minerals for them to grow their brains. And this is what we see as a new pandemic, actually on this continent, the stunting. Almost a third of African children are stunted today. And we have countries where actually is 50% of children that are stunted. It's a long-term consequence that unfortunately is not reversible to some extent. The brain doesn't grow, the kids will not be able to attend the conference like this because of the food they didn't get at the early years of life. So that became an urgency for us in health sector, but also for most of you in other sectors. The last point I wanted to highlight, conscious of time, is One Health. When we talk about One Health, we see the environment, we see the animals and people. And we In the health sector, we see this as the disease channels, yet should be the beauty of the world, how we work together connects. So there are two examples I want to highlight here that we need to address in these food systems. One is the issue of antimicrobial resistance that we are observing because there's misuse or overuse of antibiotics in animals, in humans, and plants. So we were looking at some data earlier this week that actually most of antimicrobial resistance being observed today is not coming from humans who have taken more antibiotics. Is antibiotics used in agriculture that translate into food, into plants, then humans consume food, then get this resistance with time. So this brings the complexity of the environment to One Health and how we should deal with this issue of antimicrobial resistance. The second point around this item 3 is actually in terms of One Health, what we should do to protect the 3 pillars of the ecosystem so that the food is helpful, but also the diseases are controlled on any of the 3 humans, animals, and environment. And this is quite important when we think even to genetically modified products. How do we make sure these scientific discoveries are making us safer and controlled on humans, animals, and plants? Because this is an era of technology that we are all seeing and embracing. It's needed. We need the quantity and the quality of food, but also we need safety, especially to humans. So reflecting around this topic, these are what comes in my mind. But to conclude, I want to highlight the needs for, it's actually a question I want to leave for the audience. I know they will ask us questions. Sometimes we can also give them questions. Should we live to eat, or should we eat to live? Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Sabin. So maybe we'll have the audience answering the question or asking. So I don't know if we have time, because I had the last one general question to our panelists. Do we have some?
You can take two more minutes.
2 more minutes, okay. So it's a general one. Maybe one of you will address it. So it says that how Africa Food System Forum and partners could be leveraged to support the government ambition toward food system transformation under PSTF 5 and Vision 2050. So any member of the panelists can...
Right. Let me try to make an attempt. I think in the interest of time, simple. Can we, all of us, as government, as policymakers, the private sector actor, development partners, first of all, from the all the discussion in our homes, in our place of work, can we start discussing food systems? As the minister put it, you can't run away anymore. So that's one. Can we get the discussion around food system entrenched in our daily lives, regardless of the class and the rest? The second thing, can we take stock of what has worked everywhere, somewhere, in terms of food production, in terms of the logistics, in terms of the energy? We have got so many solutions that have worked in terms of increasing production, in terms of whatever problem that we are struggling with here. Can we try to replicate them, share experiences, and then build on that? I think that's my last comment. Building on that, we leverage research in terms of genetics, varieties that are resistant, but we build viable business models. I think that language is easier for private sector. If you are saying, come and solve the problem of scarcity of food through a business that is viable and gives you a return of so much. The last time I checked, we don't have a problem of funding in any market. And so it can't be in the agricultural sector. What we are lacking is viable business models that are evidence-based, that are inclusive enough for youth, for women, leveraging on technology, that will be able to solve the current problems we are facing as we give a good, decent return to our investors. I think that would be able to allow the young people to innovate. That will help us to move faster to achieve these targets we had talked about. But also we shall be able to live a happier life. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I would like to thank our panelists for the insight they just gave us. And we can see that when we talk about the food system, it's broad, so we need different stakeholders. So I think we got a lot of insight from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Over to you, MC.
Thank you so much to our panel. Could you give them another round of applause? There is a question that was asked. Should we live to eat or should we eat to live? I think we should answer that question. Anybody in the audience? Reflections before the ministers sit back. Should we live to eat or should we eat to live? Anybody? Do we have a roving mic? Okay, that's one for the books. We go home and think about it if we don't have any volunteers. Oh, we have a volunteer. Can't see too well. Awesome.
Yeah, the mic is trying to let me down. I think from my perspective, we need to eat to live. And the reason why I'm saying this, we need to invest in our food systems so that we get healthy meals, so that we eat and live.
Thank you very much. Good comment. Also giving an opportunity for one final question from the audiences to our panel, if you have any. Yes, please.
No, I think my sister answered. We should eat to live because food is energy, food is health, as the panelists told us. But I think the first thing that gets into life is food, the breast milk for those who take breast milk. So it gets us back to that whole ecosystem and the focus on women and youth. Because from the fetus, we feed. From the infant eats to survive. In adolescent, the needs are different. So the life cycle approach to food system takes us to the whole reason for which we are here. And I think we really need to focus on these two key targets. And then the ecosystem approach, these multi-dimensional partnerships is what is very important. But the focus is eating to live and making the feeding a cycle. Thank you.
Dr. Sabah, you have your answer, right?
Yeah, I appreciate the answers and reflections. I think it's important to see food as a source of what we need to live, but also to live healthy, longer. And it's all about the quality. It's all about how we take care of ourselves to live longer. And it's also how we consider those who don't have food to get it. So we're addressing both food misuse, but also food sharing, for especially to address the issue of stunting.
Thank you so much. Round of applause for our panel as we welcome the next one. Thank you so much, Dr. Oli, for your moderation, and to the panel. We are coming to the second and final panel for this afternoon, almost going to evening. I want to invite the moderator for this session, Professor Alfred Bizoza. Honorable Jean Chrysostom Gabitsinze, Mr. Sa Punde of the World Bank, we will need an additional seat, please. Honorable Paula Ingabire and Mr. Christian Irakoze. Thank you so much for joining us. Over to you, Professor Alfred.
So, thank you very much, facilitator. It's a pleasure to have this panel, which is going to leverage on the previous discussion, where we are going now to touch on a very critical aspect on investment, reflecting on two major aspects. One, how do we do the de-risking of the sector as we promote food system transformation? Number two, how do we involve in a very active way and effective manner the private sector in the food system transformation? So on the panel we have, I think they have been already introduced briefly. We have Honorable Minister Professor Jean Chrysostom, Minister of Trade. We have also Mr. Sahe from World Bank, and then we have also Honorable Minister Paula Ingabire, and then we have also Christian Irakoze, representing the NEZA. Thank you. So we are going to start with some few questions, and then building on the previous discussion. Starting with you, Honorable Minister Gabitsinze. We know that the private sector is very critical as far as food system transformation is concerned. How do we ensure its growth?
Thank you, Professor Bizoza. I think it's unfair that you ask me questions. You might be here to respond because we're the expert. But I can't influence the process. I have to respond. You are the one you have here in the country doing research on those things, so you have more data than me. But because I have to respond, I think private sector is there. When you talk about system, forum, meaning that all actors are represented. But the big question is that increasing effort, you might do it to reduce problems. Reducing problems means that we find solutions quickly. Several times, let's say on our side, public institutions, we intervene when problems are serious. We don't intervene to predict problems. It's like a firefighting. So to engage private sector is creating systems, because a system is something putting all pieces together, and is what we are doing. So the first phase has been completed, and for sure now private sector is engaged. But we have challenges from what we do, because when we talk about sector like agriculture is a specific one. It's not like having just a manufacturer with a value chain from the point A to point Z. In agriculture, sometimes when you arrive to Z, you come back to B because of many external factors. For that reason, creating a forum like this is the sustainable way to resolve problems. And of course, continuing thinking together will give tangible results. So I say this because I want to thank, first of all, people who created this forum. I like too much the word forum, because forum is inclusive and private sector is included. So the solution is there. The remaining part is continue to work together and to make sure that we understand the dynamism around the changes we are getting out here. We have been dealing with shocks, and we will continue to deal with shocks. Before, Minister Sabe talked about stunting. I think the answer from the question he asked it was coming from there. When you don't eat well, you have children with high level of malnutrition, and it is creating stunting. This is a problem. Even if you engage private sector today to process good food with quality food, the issue is on the grassroots. So if we can deal with the grassroots problems, for sure we'll go together and we have solutions. So private sector engagement is first of all to understand issues around. You will see many, they will say, there's no money. I can't agree. Money is there, but the problem is how to access and use that money. Sometimes we say interest rate is too high. Yes, it's true. It can be too high in agriculture. Even if you create an interest rate of 1 digital, like, let's say 8, 9%, or 10, 1 is 0, yes, it will be good, but not all will be able to access and use well. So working efficiently is working together, and of course, continuing thinking around solutions, counting even problems. So Professor, I can stop here, but I think the big part of the work you have to do as a team, we are doing it, and I'm sure we'll continue like this. And of course, in the panel, I have someone here from the private sector, is young. He will mention for sure many challenges, access, digital trade, smart agriculture, many things. But the solutions is to sit together and work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. While you still have the microphone, what do you think are the critical area that maybe we need to focus on as we boost the growth of the private sector itself before it contributes to the food system transformation?
Yeah, the critical area is ourselves, our mindset, because as I have said, sometimes we exclude or we include not timely. Let's include the people timely, and let's hear a voice from private sector. And of course, it's not just one way. The private sector has a big role to play. You see, if I can give you an example, today we count many micro, not even small, micro enterprise in agriculture. The solution for a micro is totally different to a large or a medium enterprise. So we need to disaggregate our solutions and to make sure that everyone is covered. You will see in our work as a minister, let's take an example. If you receive an email from a small and a very small company, like a micro, I'm sure the first thing you have in mind, this person, you don't see that is very small to reach a minister. And when you see an email from Dr. Karibata, you don't respond, you call. Excellency, where do you want to meet me? Can you come tomorrow? Let's serve the small ones. Right. Then we find solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Thank you. Yeah, from even the previous panel, we have had the role of the infrastructure or investment in infrastructure to support the food system transformation. I'm now leading my question to the representative of the World Bank. What are you doing to support the investment in infrastructure or to support the hard part of the food system transformation? Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. So let me first start by saying that the World Bank finance projects, are only successful because of the clear vision and commitment from the government of Rwanda to deliver on its commitments. So I think it's important to make that point first, because the World Bank is not responsible for implementation. It's the government that's responsible for implementation. So I thought I want to make that point first. So agriculture is the second biggest sector in the World Bank portfolio here in Rwanda. We are putting about $350 million through, a few projects. The agricultural commercialization project and de-risking project, and the sustainable agricultural intensification projects. So these two projects, basically support farmers to invest in technology, and more importantly, also provide scope for them to access markets. And the technologies that we are supporting, through the farmers include, areas where they can innovate in terms of, crop production, on seeds, and these are all demand-driven, where the farmers contribute 25 to 50%, of these investments. And so essentially, these, even in the crop production, high-value crops, such as, horticulture is also quite important. On seeds, it's not so much providing access, to seeds, but more importantly is to ensure that the seeds that they produce are what's needed in the markets, so that the farmers can be able to sell their produce. So the project, provides support for that. It also provides support to, the taking the risks for farmers that are trying to invest in new technologies by providing subsidy to insurance premiums. So that can also help the risk, some of the things they're doing. We also work with the government in providing, support to high-value additions also in the sector. And some of that includes access to financing, which is critical for transformation. And so the commercialization and de-risking project, provides scope for, credit lines, so that farmers can be able to have access. And we also have, some other projects that provide them resources so that they can be able to access funds to innovate in the agricultural sector. But more importantly also, I think the broader support in the portfolio that addresses institutional support, feeder roads, electricity, and a range of things. So this essentially should be seen as a collective action, where it's not just, the support that we work with the minister here in ICT area also, contributes to creating the enabling environment for the agricultural sector to thrive. So let me pause there.
Thank you. Your fellow panelist, the Honorable Minister, mentioned that money is not a problem. Do you share the same view?
Money is not a problem for the government, you mean?
Getting access to money is not a problem. That's what he said. So from your view, is it easy to attract funding, investment in this particular area?
Well, if I go back to my first point, in terms of the government's clear vision on delivery, I think if you deliver, you are able to attract support. And as Jonathan said in his earlier remarks, the collective action from donors to provide support or support the government's agenda, I think, remains up there.
Right.
And we've seen, the delivery on the government side.
It all depends on the government, if I hear you well, and the plans.
Well, you said that.
Great. Thank you very much. Let me also take through to Christian. As a young entrepreneur, you have seen having youth, women, this is part of the central theme and focus for the food system transformation. What do you think are the types of the support that you need, or what are the challenges are you facing? Like people are entering into the sector with the entrepreneurial mindset.
Thank you, Professor Bizoza. I'll first begin by saying that in terms of supports, especially on the policy side of things, we as the youth, we do receive a lot of supports, and there's a lot of things throughout my journey that I definitely would not have been able to achieve had it not been some policies that were put in place to help the youth in agriculture, such as access to land, and some access to financing. I also happen to be part of an organization called Rwanda Youth in Agribusiness Forum, which is a platform for that galvanizes all the youth in agriculture and different youth organizations in agriculture, and exposes them to different opportunities, whether it's funding, whether it's skills. So there's already a lot of ongoing support that's happening in terms of policy. But with that said, there's still also a lot of challenges, especially when you're in the youth, especially the fact that agriculture can be a capital intensive sector. Now, one big challenge that I have seen happen frequently. It's not the first time that I hear that money is not a problem. I've also heard that tune as well. But despite the fact that money is not a problem, one thing that I've seen that is a big barrier to access to finance is investor readiness. So, especially youth-led companies, there are a lot of companies that don't have the adequate amount of investor readiness, if I can call it that, because you can always attract investors. You can have a good venture on the surface, but there's always a process of due diligence that happens, and if it's a vehicle or foundation that's not strong, the investor may not want to proceed. So investor readiness, I think, is something that needs to be brought out to light more, and it can also be something in terms of policy where it can be a sort of like standardization where you have companies that are in the agriculture sector but have completed ABC checklist on the checklist, and they're investor ready. I think that the element of being investor ready is something that a lot of youth organizations, a challenge that a lot of youth organizations have, and being able to overcome that can further attract more investments. Now, on another side of things, there's also the fact that the most dominant financial mechanisms may not be so adequate for an agriculture company that's led by the youth, especially when it comes to debt financing that requires high amounts of collateral. If there is a way to, be more creative in terms of that sort of access to finance that's debt, whether you can use contract financing as a sort of collateral or equipment, something that's an outside of the box thinking that goes beyond the typical collateral demands. That's definitely something that can also help the youth, and maybe to add on, to piggyback off of that, also like a value chain financing, if I can call it that. Sometimes we can focus on an entrepreneur or a company and invest in that, but there's a whole value chain, and for it to be a successful venture operation, all the dominoes must fall into place, from inputs to production up until distribution. If the production goes well and the distribution doesn't go so well, then that can affect the success of that company. So having a sort of a holistic approach to financing, sort of like a value chain financing, where you're looking at the whole chain from inputs up until distribution or markets, that could be definitely something that can even de-risk an individual component within that value chain. So that's also one of the challenges and one of the ways we could potentially address some of these barriers to access to finance.
Thank you. Well, just one touch that I need again for you. We have heard policy statements that agriculture should be seen as a business. What is your take on that, and based on your experience as well?
So I do agree on that statement. Commercialization of agriculture, especially if you think about like economies of scale, for it to be sustainable, profitable, the bigger it can get, the more successful it can potentially become. And even just on the market side of things, there is a very, maybe talking from experience, but there's a very big demand for, and the only way this demand can be fulfilled is by commercializing or intensifying some of this agriculture. So it's almost, to me, I see it as there's almost no choice if we are to decide to fulfill that kind of demand. There has to be an element of intensification or commercialization, and also if we want to stop relying on imports, then that to me is the clear path to go.
Thank you very much. Allow me to also ask the Honorable Minister Paula. You can clap for him. Thank you. So ICT, Israeli and innovation, is at the center of food system transformation. What is your take on that?
Thank you.
And what is basically the sector is doing to support that?
Thank you very much. And I think I'll pick on some of the points that have been raised with the other panelists, especially because I wanted to come back to the issue of financing, especially when you're looking at it from the lens of promoting and supporting agtech type of innovations. But maybe to take a step back and talk about some of the things that we've been doing in Rwanda, because ICT, technology innovation, is an enabler for every sector. And so whether it's agriculture, healthcare, education, what we've done is to look at how we support the different sectors in their transformation, but also in responding to the day-to-day challenges they face. To do that, there have been a couple of investments that we've made as a government. There are those investments that I could call horizontal, whether it's the provision of infrastructure, broadband infrastructure to enable these different industries. It's not unique to one specific industry, but rather catalytic infrastructure that enables the different sectors. And particularly for agriculture, when we talk about this kind of connectivity, it's how we leverage this broadband connectivity with a combination of devices to allow farmers and extension workers to access information online, to share information, but also for market access. But I would even say, when you think about the potential of technology in agriculture, that's probably the basic, enabling role or opportunity that we tend to see. Now, what we are seeing, especially because today we're focused more on food systems, I was reading an article that really brought out some key statistics, some of them that Minister Ildefonso shared. First, the one around the fact that 40% of arable land globally is degraded. And so for technology and innovation, the question is always around, with these challenges, with these problems, is there an opportunity for technology and innovation to support and respond to these? We see, because of the 40% degraded land, that means it's productivity losses that are accounting to the tune of 400 billion per year. That is a lot. But also what you see is the smallholder farmers who are contributing to about 29% of crops. And so when we're thinking about technology, then comes the lens of inclusion. How do we build solutions and technologies that are going to support both the large-scale farmers as well as the smallholder farmers? The second one is around how technology, and this is really more around data, how we are leveraging data, whether it's data to inform policies, to inform interventions. We've used satellite data and AI, in supporting some of the early warning systems that have been in place. Right where I was seated behind me was a gentleman who's using drones, and we've seen the role of drones that drones have played in Rwanda, and particularly in the agriculture sector, where we've even used drones, one in mapping arable land, but at the same time we've also used the drone technology in looking at the soil health, in the spraying that is happening across, whether it's marshlands. And so these are all the different ways that technology is supporting us in becoming a food secure country. But I want to come back to a statistic that Minister Ildefonse highlighted, which was really around the 32% of our children that are stunting. When you look at it globally, you have about 2 billion of children or people that are suffering from malnutrition. And so here comes an opportunity to leverage technologies, whether we're thinking about protein transformation. But just to come back to we're doing some data and scenario modeling where we're looking at the linkages between the climate shocks into food security, which will also affect stunting, and the end is going to affect employability. So it means that as we solve for these problems, whether we're using technology or the partnerships that we're all talking about here, it's going to require a whole of a system thinking in how we solve for these problems. And I like what the young gentleman raised around value chain financing. I believe as we think about the entire value chain of agriculture, you need to think about how, for each of these steps, how technology can enable these areas. Then the other one statistic is around the fact that 70%, there's 70% of freshwater withdrawals. And so this is where precision agriculture technology comes in, whether it's smart irrigation systems that we can use so that we are precise on the water quantities and better use of water as we irrigate our land, whether we're using biotech technologies to research on crops that are more drought tolerant in this case. And so when you look at that whole chain, I think for every challenge, there's always an opportunity on how we can leverage technology and innovation to solve for these challenges. And maybe I'll end on this. Earlier today, both myself and Minister Sabe were discussing the health tech hub, and someone told us the concept of field to fork. And so he mentioned something from field to fork, in between is the kitchen. So the kitchen is where the innovations are happening. And so this is where the role of technology and supporting these young startups and innovators becomes very profound in them making a contribution on how we solve for these challenges in agriculture and becoming food secure while we leverage technology. And so that will require accelerating digital and data-driven solutions. It will require thinking about this kind of value chain financing, but it will also require connecting them to these problems so that they're also playing a fundamental role in doing that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You can see on my left side, someone is coming on the stage. It's a signal that the time is over. And I think this time is not really sufficient to unpack a such theme and sub-themes that are really important in this particular area. But as we conclude, let's give a chance to one final remark. If there is any concluding message someone wants to give among the panelists, and then we can give the floor to the overall facilitator. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Professor. I want to make a clarification. When we talk about private sector, we see the side of trade, mainly. When they talk private sector federation, sometimes we forget that there is no trade without the processor, mainly without producers. In agriculture, our first members of private sector, those are the farmers. And as he has said, if you just finance, for example, processors, you will find the money in the account because they don't have raw materials to process. So it is a cycle. it's very important to finance from the production, because the factors of production is the ones we use to say we are technically efficient on producing. Then you can be technically efficient on processors, on processing, and of course on marketing and traders. Otherwise, we always have those gaps along the value chains. Let's make sure that the producers are first served. For that's what I have said, let's serve the small on the value chain in agriculture sector. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Honorable Minister. So as I hand over to the overall facilitator, I think this is an appetizer for the summit to come. So let's continue to reflect on how really to have some approaches and models to de-risk the sector and ensure that there is adequate collaboration and within the private sector and the public sector, but also continue to think on different pathways to ensure that the private sector is growing, and also we bring in the role of ICT and innovation as we continue to reflect on food system transformation. Thank you again for your time, all the panelists, and thanks also for your attention at the audience.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for the panel. Thank you so much. I think my biggest takeaway was from both panels that we are so interconnected, we cannot afford to ignore coordination, collaboration, and working together if we want to change the food systems in Africa. We have come to a close, and I can see the minister is still here, and I've been asked to give the minister the floor to close this session, because we have you still in the room, before we get into the press conference. Honorable Edelphonse, I'm referring to you. Please welcome. Before you take the mic, I just want to invite all our guests to a cocktail right outside once the minister closes. Welcome.
So thank you. You said what I wanted to say. So then, let me start by thanking this moderator. I think she did a great job. And honorable ministers, thank you for responding to our invitations and give very wonderful speeches. And now to unpack this connection between health, environment, and ICT and agriculture, this was really amazing. So then, and then connected with our smallholder farmers that the Minister of Trade asked us to focus on. I think the message is noted, and I think together with the World Bank and the other partners in the room, USAID and all partners on that fish there. So I'm sure together we can do wonders. And let me rephrase what she asked. I think there's a cocktail outside that the organizers has prepared. Let's wish us a bon appetit, as I said earlier. Thank you, organizers, and I hope to see you all in September from 2nd to 6th. And we'll be now more than 5,000. Thank you to all of us for your patience, and see you.